What causes the largest wounding to a narcissist? Do the comments and noises seem random? Are they in her regular voice, or does she change pitch? She may have Tourette's syndrome, especially if she makes movements like waving, arm flapping or head jerking. For example, my girlfriend will make squeaking sounds, shout out words that are around her, like leave me alone or dog, or even longer sentences not related to anything. However, once she gets working, the tics settle down. I just thought maybe from your description she could be tissing pretty badly at the start of class, especially triggered by everyone quietening down, but then once she gets distracted by work, she settles a bit. Smile. Tourette's can make you say pretty controversial things too, like rude comments about the course, swears, or even others' appearance. Of course, I could be completely wrong, but thought I might offer another perspective.
This sounds like she may be neurodivergent. My son has similar tics. He makes random noises and comments in the classroom when it's too loud for him. It's his way of coping and balancing out the noise. He is very sensitive to his surroundings, and he really doesn't notice he's doing it most of the time. It might be worth giving this girl the benefit of the doubt. Some people have struggles that we don't understand. I'm currently dealing with a narcissist ex. Her and I dated for 9 months. The day after she broke up with me, she got a boyfriend. The only thing she would talk to me about was him and everything about her. Eventually I got sick of it and decided to ignore her at school. She didn't take that well and decided to go to the principal and say I was the reason she wasn't coming to school. Later that night she called and texted me, but I didn't answer. The principal is having me switch homerooms and she hasn't showed up to school since that day, 3 days ago. The contrast between him and Ledger is astounding. Leto would stay in character as Joker all throughout the Suicide Squad movie, even going so far as to send used condoms to his castmates. Edit. I'm told this is a debunked myth. Meanwhile, Heath Ledger would immediately break character whenever Nolan yelled cut during The Dark Knight. Reminds me of that exchange between Peter O'Toole, Laurence Olivier and Dustin Hoffman, when Hoffman had to do a scene where his character was physically exhausted. He stayed up for 36 hours straight to get into it. Upon hearing this, O'Toole Olivier remarked to him, "Goodness, have you ever tried acting?" When I was younger, around 10-12 years ago, I had a huge crush on Leto after hearing a few 30 Seconds to Mars songs. Needless to say, I rushed to the internet to find other fangirls to commiserate with. Instead, I found several forum threads of teen girls discussing his proclivity for having sex, trying to have sex with very young teenagers, 12-16, who went to his gigs, some first and second-hand accounts, others just rumors. Just to be clear, I don't know if any of it was true, but I dropped my interest in him and his music pretty damn quick. I can't find any of those old forum posts today, but it seemed to be common knowledge in these groups. Maybe it was all made up, but I still get a very icky feeling when I see him on screen. Can't help but wonder if anything incriminating will come out on the guy someday. Edit. Forgot that I read a more recent account of him being super abusive to a sexual partner and also being accused of trying to get with under 18s by other celebrities. If any of this stuff is true, I hope it comes out. Emma is a beautiful film and I hate that Harvey Weinstein terrorized her during production, and no one deserves that. That said, no one deserves her smug wellness grifter bullshit except rich healthy people. It probably won't hurt, but taking advantage of aspirational or desperate unwell people so she gets richer off regular folks' money? Fuck number. To this specific point, the suit's mostly run by the onboard computer anyway, so even a grade schooler could be a net positive in that battle, and presumably she's messed around with one from time to time in the last several years. I interpreted the fact that she showed up as things were so desperate they needed every last warm body they could scrape up to make a stand, especially since 5 years ago it didn't go so well. Yeah, that's scary just to read. I blew up my new strippers on Tuesday because I trusted a first-year 1V Ben working with when he said he just tested the circuit and it was dead. Blew a nice little chunk out of it, all because I didn't want to get off my ladder and grab my hot stick to check it myself. Nice little 645 wake up boom lol. Always check shit yourself. I knew better, but early morning laziness SMH. I have a friend who fell in the shower and knocked himself out. His body blocked the drain and he ended up basically drowning in the tub. I'm not sure he would have lived if not for the drowning though. I guess it was a pretty bad head injury anyway. Crazy stuff. He was in his late 30s. I keep the last message he wrote me and read it occasionally and feel guilty for not responding. We'd had a falling out over somebody stupid and the last thing he said to me was basically extending the olive branch, but I was too stubborn to reach back. It doesn't even have to be a lot of stairs. A family friend of mine lived in a ranch-style house, all one level. It was zero entry at the front of the house, but had a single step down to the patio. This friend had lived there for years. Then one day was walking inside and just managed to trip on that one step and hit her chin on the ground. Broke her neck and died in hospital about 3 weeks later. It's like, you wouldn't even think of that as being a risk. But it happens, as you said. A shocking number of people. This happened to a friend of mine a few years back. They came back from the bar and he went upstairs while she was downstairs cooking them up some noms. She heard a crash and thud and found him with his skull split open, smashed and bleeding everywhere at the bottom of the stairs. Had wounds, bleed like crazy man. We all helped her move out of her place as quick as she possibly could. It isn't good for anybody to stay in the same domicile your partner just died in a horrible accident in, you know? Shit was rough for a while. I think about this sometimes when I'm stupid drunk, high, and just instead ask my sober friend to get me the random thing I need from downstairs. I've since moved to a new area from where that accident was, so these friends didn't have to see the blood stain on the floor as we helped her move. So they don't get it all, but they are good friends. So they still take care of me when I ask for help, even if they think it's weird. I know what you mean, and as a dad now I understand, but as a 9 or 10-year-old in the 80s, I once grabbed the steering wheel while arguing with my dad in the car, almost killed both of us, without a word, but I could smell the heat coming off of his head. He pulled over, removed me from the car, and drove off. It was pouring rain. I ran after the car and I remember that my favorite G.I. Joe flip-flops fell off. And I hadn't initially noticed, and I had already started crying. I never regretted anything, especially my pride, so much in my life at that moment. He was just circling the block and I was met with a hug and an explanation about how it would be worse if one of us were dead. Yeah, it was maybe extreme or abusive, and I'm still a little fucked about it, but for shit sure it was effective. I would never do that to my kids. But I obsessively point out ahead of time how things like stairs, cars, pools, parking lots, how all that stuff can go wrong really quick. Yup, learned my lesson the hard way. Wooden staircase and I was upstairs. I heard my phone go off downstairs. I ran to grab it in cotton socks. About 2 steps down and my feet slid out from under me, and thankfully I slid down the stairs on my back. I had to take 2 weeks off work because of the pain, but thankfully nothing permanent. Also had a close friend die in Texas. Not too much is known of what happened, but she was likely drunk and slipped. Her fiancé came home from work around 11 p.m. and found her at the bottom of the staircase with her head split wide open, unconscious, and a shattered bottle of wine. Who knows how long she had been laying there. She died a couple days later in hospital. So sad. She was one of my best friends and the sweetest person you can imagine. I almost fell running into a subway, to catch a train, not a sandwich lol, in South Philly late for work, but luckily I was able to grab the handrail and some big guy behind me was nice and close enough to grab my collar and help keep me up lol. That was a close one and would have been bad. Those stairs are concrete. I almost had an accident carrying a heavy cooler filled with drinks down like 3 steps not too long ago. Maybe it wasn't deadly, but I sprained my ankle pretty badly. I've made sure to walk very carefully going up and down stairs. I don't have the best luck with them all. Driving. I drive for a living and I cannot believe the stupid fucking shit people will do on a freeway. It's insane, and honestly it's almost killed my sympathy for people who get into car accidents, cause I can't help but wonder if the person involved was doing something dumb. The only thing that lets me hang on to it is knowing that even if that were true, there could have been other people driving safely that were hurt as well. Stop driving like fucking idiots, people. It's not just your life you're putting in danger. At least you care about learning how to drive well. Yes, you'll screw up as you learn, but you actually want to get better. Most people who create dangerous situations clearly just don't care whether they're putting themselves or other people at risk. That's what's so frustrating to people who drive professionally. It's a willful and reckless disregard for safety in favor of, what? Getting somewhere 30 seconds faster than the GPS predicts. Taking out aggression? I still don't know. This should be at the top. My therapist likes to remind me how horrible stress is for humans and that it's taking time off my life, which stresses me out. So I'm stressed about stressing too much, which also means I'm stressed about everything else even more because life is hard. I've resigned myself to dying early as a result and eating goldfish crackers whenever I feel like it because it brings me joy. I wish you luck with your stress. I hope you have lots of joy too. I felt this so much. Went to a therapist about my anxiety. She asked me, have you ever considered you have an appropriate amount of anxiety for the amount of stressors in your life? Well, fuck me. How is that helpful? Question mark. So here I am, with even more stressors than before, swimming in anxiety and migraine pain. Thank God I have love and supportive people in my life, or I would be well and truly fucked. Oh my God, I suffer from psychosis, which results in delusions and hallucinations. Have you considered the fact that perhaps all of these things really are happening to you and you're just experiencing the world a different way from the rest of us? Yes, please try convince me the shadow monsters that keep me awake sobbing every night are in fact real. That's the best thing you could possibly do. I did 10 years as a messenger. The stuff I did on a bike would make the average person's jaw drop. It's wild what you're willing to do when you get comfortable enough. Cars 2 inches away on both sides didn't even make me flinch. Even worse, half of that was on a brakeless fixed gear. I'm glad I got out of that, mostly, unscathed. Fun job. But wow, do you have to make some terrible and dangerous decisions if you want to make any semblance of money. Definitely worse than airplanes. Not many air deaths happen compared to motor vehicle related. Don't know about boats, but I definitely don't know someone who's died in a boat accident other than a family's dad's family friend who got lost at sea and died or something. It doesn't seem super common to me. Meanwhile though, 3 people I went to high school with have died in a car. The worst of all forms of transport. You're relying on people with little to no supervision following made-up rules to keep between painted lines in the hopes nobody screws up, makes a mistake and hits someone else. In addition, all other forms of transport are regulated and have to get pretty much anything and everything, navigation-wise, approved by 36 layers of red tape and write up reports on literally everything they do. When you're held accountable like that, you do a lot less dangerous shit. But seriously, invest in good shoes for walking. I started doing 5 miles every weekday and I tried to get by with a couple cheap pairs or even random Costco finds and they just don't cut it. I ended up with aches and pains. Finally decided to stop being my frugal self and got a legit pair, and the aches and pains are gone and the benefit I get from my morning walks is enormous. Such a vicious cycle. Being sober sucks sometimes, but I do savor when I manage not to drink for an extended period and actually feel somewhat happy. Edit. Thanks to all who've offered their advice in similar situations. Honestly, it's just a symptom of a bigger problem I need to deal with. Seek out help for existential crisis, being mid-30s and the world only seems to be getting shittier, etc. Props to those who've addressed it head-on and overcame it. As a recovered alcoholic, may I offer some advice? Get some B vitamins. The only really permanent damage alcohol does to your body besides cirrhosis is wet brain, which is absolutely preventable with some B vitamins. Also, don't be discouraged if you relapse. Just accept that you're fallible, get a good shower and some clean clothes, and sober up again. Keep doing it. Do it as many times as it takes. It's totally awesome once you get your energy back. As a recovered alcoholic, may I offer some advice? Get some B vitamins. The only really permanent damage alcohol does to your body besides cirrhosis is wet brain, which is absolutely preventable with some B vitamins. Also, don't be discouraged if you relapse. Just accept that you're fallible, get a good shower and some clean clothes, and sober up again. Keep doing it. Do it as many times as it takes. It's totally awesome once you get your energy back. I'm sorry to hear that. That sounds beyond frustrating. It is crazy to me that people hear stories like this from people working in hospitals but still decide it's the nurses who are lying. Last year people didn't believe ICUs were full or that COVID patients actually had COVID. Now, the new conspiracy is that all of the ICU patients are vaccinated. Of course there will be some here and there, but they aren't the majority. One of my close friends is a nurse, has seen the pandemic firsthand, and her dad still thinks the whole thing is a hoax. I know it probably doesn't mean much, but thank you for your hard work and service. I used to avoid Red Bull and other energy drinks because they gave me anxiety, but now I'm getting into the habit of drinking them anyway at work to keep me going. I always crash really hard afterward and it sucks for my anxiety, but I love the taste and the fact that it doesn't make me feel like I am gonna poop my pants how coffee does. It's a real love-hate relationship, and that's not even factoring in how hard it is on your body. Give it time. My husband used to be fine with energy drinks and out of nowhere they started making him almost actually shit his pants. He's a mail carrier and for a stint was going to an office an hour away to help out. He would pick up an energy drink on the way and kept having near-miss emergencies. He blamed my cooking, was asking me to take extra precautions with cleanliness and such. I actually figured it out, not him. Insult my cooking, will ya? Greater than. Every day I have to walk into my safety hazard of a freezer at work. One of these days I will slip and fall and break something. It's so fucking badly organized and the floor is always covered in crunched ice from bags and bags of ice we sell in the aisles, which then gets stuck in the bottom of my slip-resistant shoes, which means my feet become coated in enough ice to create my own DIY ice skates, which means all it takes is one careless step while holding a box and I'm toast. I have complained to everyone higher up than me about it. Best response I got: my some anti-ice salt tossed in general area. I consume multiple cups of dihydrogen monoxide every day. It can cause corrosion of metals or can cause bloating in the human body. Its basis is the highly reactive hydroxyl radical, a species shown to mutate DNA, denature proteins, disrupt cell membranes, and chemically alter critical neurotransmitters. The atomic components of DHMO are found in a number of caustic, explosive and poisonous compounds such as sulfuric acid, nitroglycerine and ethyl alcohol. I feel you on this. For me, stress is a primary driver and gestures at the last 2 years. Also, I find out some of the best intel at the smoking area, pre-COVID, about what's really going on at our company. Now, it's a good reason to step away from my desk and stop thinking about work for a bit. I've tried several times. Longest no smoking stint was a month and a half, halted by a stressful situation at the apartment, pre-COVID, where a contractor busted the drain line for our upstairs neighbor's AC, then having to supervise them fixing it and repainting the closet, only to have them cause another leak when they replaced our AC and did the same damn thing. Left off the drain line. I want to quit, but everything is so stressful. I used to make donuts as a living. I had to regularly test them to make sure I had the batter and everything else right. I'd just take a bite and throw the rest of the donut away, but that shit adds up. Eventually I was disgusted every time I had a bite. I had to force myself to eat it, and it fucking sucked. Imagine taking a bite of the food you hate the most, regularly, every workday. I still totally could tell whether I had everything right and did great quality control, but fuck, I hated it. I absolutely cannot stand donuts anymore, and it's been nearly 10 years since I left that job. So, get a job as a donut maker and you will grow to fucking absolutely hate donuts. Yup, frown, late 20s here and would drink on and off here and there in binges. During COVID it hit bad and have been drinking a lot this last year. I'm going in for ultrasounds and blood tests to make sure I'm okay. I'm on day 5 of no drinking right now and don't want to look back. I hope I didn't mess up anything, but I'm at the point where I don't want to make it worse.